Hi guys, Sage is here, and we're back here in the weird triangle area that I don't really understand why it exists, but still, here we are nonetheless. Still working on that triangle animation, by the way. I'm just trying to see how many times I can say triangle within the first 14 or 15 seconds. I think it was 3. Still, nonetheless, we're here to talk about how to properly build your bunny, Camilla, because a lot of people have been asking, hey Sages, how do you build a bunny, Camilla? And, well, I guess we can probably talk about that, but to better understand it, we need to look at the base value, Camilla, that comes out of the new Easter event. And that means I get to reuse assets. Oh, thank God, laziness. So amazing. So, alright, let's just hop right on in. Get it? Hop, because she's a bunny, and just bring up the graphics, please. I can't keep doing this. Alright, so let's go through the base values as quickly as possible, as not to waste any more time. So, first off, before we start, Camilla viewer Camilla if you're new here. Anyways, green egg plus. What do I have to say about it? Well, basically, when she initiates an attack after the battle, she will gain 4 health. Nothing too crazy. From there, we have rally attack, which is any other rallying skill. When she uses it on an ally, they will gain +4 attack, and from there, well, they get to do more damage. Hooray. Her A slot passive is Defiant Speed, and Defiant Speed is, well, it grants 3, 5, or 7 speed after her health is below 50%. Yay. From there, we have Live for Bounty, and Live for Bounty, at least according to the description, gives badges, additional badges, but you see the problem here is that that is actually a typo. They just copy and pasted Xander's ability. Lazy. And from there, it's actually crystals, apparently. So you get more crystals with Tower. There you go. That's basically all of her stats there for her skills. And for those who are wondering, on the left side where it shows her stat page, know 2 things. One, okay, just one thing. Those listed stats are neutral usually. You will have a difference in stats based on IVs. And also the attack may look like it's really low, but just understand that when it comes to basic attack values, it's the addition of the weapon's might that adds on to a character's attack to bring you the final tally, basically. So typically when you want to do is when you do this, you add the attack plus the might of the weapon. Alright, so let's go over the pros and cons for this basic Camilla, and then we'll talk about building her to make her stronger, okay? Alright, so as we've gone over when we did the reviews for these units, she has high attack and HP, decent defense, she has high movement because she is the only flying tome user in the game right now, and her weapon heals her. Not the most amazing heal, but I guess a heal's a heal if you want to really go with something. Outside of that, well, she lacks her special skill, she has low resistance, she also lacks merge potential, and she has that novelty passive in the form of Live for Bounty, so when it comes to builds, you're really going to want to remove that. And I'm just going to be pretty blunt here. You're going to be doing a lot of rebuilding for this Camilla, and it's going to be quite a bit of SP, and you may end up sacrificing some other units to actually make her better. Quite a lot of units, some really nice units if you really want to pump out some damage as Camilla here. We're going to be going over 2 builds that I've created for you guys to take in and see what you want to build here, okay? So we have a novelty build that's more based around trying to kill colorless units and blue units, as well as one that's pure damagey if you are trying to build a flyer team, okay? Those are the options here that we're going to make for you. So let's move on to the first build. Alright, so introducing to you the Gran Raven build. You can't see it, but I'm like flailing my arms around like it's something special. But still, nonetheless, the Gran Raven weapons and Raven weapons in general are mostly known for their ability to have an advantage over the colorless units, and for those who don't know, this basically makes colorless units effectively a part of the color triangle when they were originally not. It basically gives this unit who has the weapon an advantage over them despite not being a part of the triangle. And Gran Raven comes from Cecilia, and I believe her first version of it actually is at 4 stars, or maybe unlocks at 3 stars, and from there you get Gran Raven Plus at 5 stars. So be aware that if you're doing this, you're going to be sacrificing a 5-star unit for the additional Plus version. Doesn't mean that you can't use the original version, which is still quite powerful, but you will have a little less might. Just pointing that out. Anyways, Grand Raven. Basically her weapon, and what it does is it grants her an advantage over colorless units. Anyways, Grand Raven's the weapon, and from there we're going to move on to her special skill, which is Moonbow. Moonbow is just typically the go-to ability for a lot of people because not only is it cheap, it's also pretty effective and it's quick. That's generally why people usually go with Moonbow. If you don't want to go with Moonbow, you could go with instead Draconic Aura, which will probably do a bit more damage, has a little bit longer of a cooldown, and ironically comes from normal Camilla, so yeah, there's that possibility. From there, we have the command skill Rally Attack. I did not change this because really it's mostly to save on a bit of SP unless you really want to go with something. For a command skill, I would probably suggest something like Draw Back because it allows her to pull a unit away from danger, and it allows her to move back as well. And this can be pretty handy, especially for her because she has a bit more movement. So let's talk about her A-slot passive, and well, it is Triangle Adept, and Triangle Adept, for those who don't know, it basically boosts the color triangle. She will do more damage to blue units, but deal less damage to red units. And here's the unique thing about Triangle Adept and the Raven line of weapons, for those who haven't heard or don't know. Basically, Triangle Adept also applies to any of these weapons that have the whole colorless advantage, meaning that essentially it's going to do even more damage. So let's say you were to take Triangle Adept 3 and attach it to a Raven weapon. That would mean 20% plus 20%, and it will do 40% more damage to that colorless unit, essentially making it even more deadly. However, Triangle Adept is a bit more rare when it comes down to it, at least for the level 3 variation. Roy has it at 4 stars, but I don't know if he would want to give away a Roy. Cordelia, Sanaki, and I believe Selena all have the second version at a rather low star level, I believe 4, and that's a bit easier to deal with. And not only that, it's only 5%, so if you do decide to go with it, Triangle Adept 2 is always a good start. And, you can't go wrong with that and the Raven weapon. So, yeah, definitely try that out. From there, with the B slot, I had really been deciding what to do with this because honestly, it's not an easy one. Desperation, Vantage, any of those are pretty good. Quick Repost. These skills typically add in pretty easily, but I like to say the Vantage, typically I have more characters that have Vantage. I have a lot of lon'qus that tend to pop up, maybe that's just me. So I found Vantage to be a bit easier to deal with when it comes to trying to get something. So I just went with Vantage. Again, Vantage, what that does is when the unit is below a certain health percentile, they will attack first. That's the basic gist of things. And Vantage is always useful to have around. It's not a bad ability. So if you decide to do that, that's great. You can also go with Desperation, Quick Riposte, or if you're trying to focus on specific units, Breaker skills are always a good option as well. Lance Breaker, Bow Breaker, these options will allow her to be much more effective against certain units that may be more common in, say, the arena. This will allow her to do a lot more damage to those units, and typically they won't be able to do too much damage to her. From here, of course, I'm going to talk about her C-slot passive, and I'll be pretty frank, C-slot passives vary quite hard based on your team makeup. For me, I went with Savage Blow because, well, I already have units that are buffing her. I really don't see too much of an advantage of having her buff anyone else, but again, Hone skills, Fortify skills, Threatening skills, even Breath of Life, these are all good options. You can go with any of them, and you'll probably do fairly well. I went with Savage Blow because, well, I mean, the unmitigated AoE damage that pops up occasionally is really kind of nice, and it really helps out, especially since she can move so quickly and get out as fast as she came in. That's just my opinion, but I mean, yeah, I like to think Savage Blow is a good option, but again, Hone skills, Fortify skills, Threaten skills, Breath of Life, these are all great options for her. So pick whichever one fits well for you. Anyways, and also I believe Savage Blow, at least for her, also comes from her normal counterpart, so yeah, that's fantastic. Alright, so let's talk about her pros and cons. So, she retains her high HP and attack, nothing too crazy there, but she also, from this build, gains the potential to absolutely destroy colorless and blue units. That's always a fun thing. It does help if you have more attack IVs as well, on this Camilla, that means she will do even more damage. Outside of that, she also, of course, has her movement, which is just great because, well, she's a flyer, and that's always a plus. She does retain her defense, even though I did not list that here. She does still keep her decent enough defense, nothing too crazy. On the flip side, she will be devastated by tome users, mostly due to her low res, especially red tome users due to Triangle Adept not really helping her too much there, and yeah, that's going to be unfortunate. But outside of that, she also has a lot of SP to grind. You're going to need quite a bit of SP to at least make this build here complete. You're going to be doing it a lot, and you might as well be summoning right now because, well, these units are only available right now, and afterwards you can't merge anymore, so chop chop. Anyways, outside of that, guys, this is the Grand Raven build, and I like to think it is pretty nice. It will destroy those units that you typically may have trouble with in Arena, your Takumis, your blue units like Robin, and things like that. Hopefully, you'll be able to destroy them, and they won't destroy you. Just saying. Still, alrighty, guys, that's about it for the Grand Raven build. Let's move on to the next one, shall we? Oh boy, so I guess it's time to talk about Blade Tome users and cavalry units and all those other kinds of nonsense. So, for those who don't know what Blade Tomes do, basically, the more a unit is buffed, the more damage they will do. This slows down the special skill timer, but really, what really matters here is buffing the hell out of that unit so they will do a lot more damage. And of course, there's a ton of Blade Tomes across all the spectrums, and right now, at least, there are teams built around cavalry units because cavalry units, of course, get their own form of buffs and goads, fortifies that are specific to them. And when you add them together on a unit, they typically make that unit do ludicrous amounts of damage, and it will be scary for everyone involved, usually. That's the basic kind of explanation I can give you here. And now that we have a flying unit, you could essentially make a team based around that. And this build is based around the concept of building a team around Flying Camilla, who's a flyer, can have fortify flyers, goad flyers, and all that fun stuff put on her and allow her to do a lot of damage, okay? So that's what this is built around. So you'll need characters like Minerva, Pala, and Kata, whatever her name is there. They all have the, flyer skills. So if you can build a team around that, that's great. Or if you want to take the skills from them and apply them to other flyers, that's just as good. But basically, this is the end-all be-all, the massive swarm, the big daddy of all SP holes that you could ever imagine when it comes to building a unit. Not only are you going to have to build this unit, you're also going to have to build a team around her. But if you do this, you're going to have a team that's all flyers, have massive buffs, and hopefully deal a lot of damage, okay? So, yeah, we're going to focus around Camilla here and try to give you an idea. So, outside of Grandblade, which we've already kind of gone over, that mostly comes from... Oh boy, people aren't going to be happy about this. Grandblade Plus comes from Nino. And while she might be trying her best and do her best, unfortunately, if you really want to, you can sacrifice your poor innocent Nino and give it instead to the big and busty bunny right here. Outside of that, of course, we have Moonbow, which we've gone over previously. Pretty easy to get. I believe Pala and Odin give it at 4 stars. And since you're going to be, well, sacrificing Nino, might as well bring over Drawback, which is the skill I mentioned previously. It allows her to move with her unit, pull that unit backwards, and it really works well with her movement, at least I think. Still, there you go, Drawback. Not a terrible command skill to bring along. Okay, so let's talk about her A-slot passive, and that is Darting Blow. And, well, that's a pretty substantial one. Basically, when she attacks, she gains 2, 4, or 6 speed. That's pretty hefty, especially at later ranks. The easiest way to get this would probably be Florina, but you can also get it from normal Camilla if you decide to want to, do a little bit of weirdness there. Darting Blow definitely does help if she has a flying team with her. With things like Goad Flyers, it's going to mean that she's going to be doing usually double attacks, and it especially helps if she has speed IVs, okay? So if you have a Speed Bane, I would probably suggest avoiding this build. For her B-slot passive, this was actually quite hard. I wasn't sure what I wanted to do here. Mostly because I wanted to try maybe putting Vantage or Desperation in here again, but I felt that as a whole, it probably wouldn't be that great of an idea. Usually, when it comes down to these skills, it usually means that she is in a desperate situation and she's going to want to either A, attack first or get the hell out. I usually go with get the hell out because with an all-flyer build, it usually means that she can teleport to a unit that's a bit further away, and that's why I went with escape route. This basically means that when she's below a certain percentile of health, she will be able to teleport to another ally. Hopefully, this means she can get out and not have to deal with getting hurt. You can, of course, substitute this with anything like before. Vantage, Desperation, Quick Repost, these abilities can help her in survivability, but I just decided to go with escape route because it's an easy solution to any of the problems that she may end up facing on the battlefield. From here, with her C slot, I went with Savage Blow again, but again, you can change this out. If you really want to build a flying team, you could potentially get another flyer skill, Ward Flyer, Goad Flyer, Fortify Flyer, Hone Flyers, whichever one you would want to pick. Or if you are going with, for some reason, a different team, you could always go with any sort of Hone skill, Breath of Life, things like that. I went with Savage Blow because typically the other units will be buffing her quite a bit more, and she will be in there to try and kind of hit and run anyone with her spell tome, basically. And that's the kind of build around this that I've made. So let's move on to pros and cons for this build here and see what we can get. From here, we retain her high HP and attack, but also add on the constant double attacks, hopefully, if she has the team to help her out here, and with the buffs from her team, massive damage. That's the objective here when it comes down to it. So, from there, we also have her cons, and that is, well, she still has her low res, even though she's getting buffed. And from there, we also have the need for a flying team to hopefully buff her up and make her a little bit more substantial when she goes into attack. That doesn't mean you can't have other teams possibly buff her as well. It just means that in general, flying teams are going to be her bread and butter here, and it's definitely going to help her out there. That's basically all I have to say with that. Outside of that, we also, of course, have the grinding that is probably necessary to get all these skills and level up the other flyers who may be needing it. That's the basic gist of it, guys. I hope you better understand it. Generally, Camilla here needs a lot of work. But if you stay with it, work hard, you could make her a outright monster. This is just, again, my idea. I hope you guys better understand Camilla as a whole when it comes down to the whole Spring Festival version of her. She's a good bunny in her own right. She's a lot better than what I remember from her original, incarnation there. And honestly, I had a lot of fun just trying to make a build for her and trying to come up with ideas, so it's been kind of neat. If you have a character you want me to review, make a build for, leave a comment. As always, if you enjoyed the video, feel free to leave a like, comment, subscribe, whatever. I'll always be here to do little videos like this, and it's been an awesome day. It's been a lot of fun, so I'll see you all very soon.